So, I have here a long list of titles for you other than Shneaky. Amongst those, consultant, promoter, musician, DJ, and you've got a ton of others. Can you tell me about some of the other names?
Yeah, the baby, the way you acting is crazy. Get yourself together, baby. The way you acting is crazy. Get yourself together, baby. The way you acting is crazy.
Community leader, activist, educator, event specialist, brother, son, uncle, cousin, boss. I don't know. Yeah, a lot of titles. I feel like they're all only interesting in context with each other, because I mean, like, anybody could do any one of those things. I think the fact that I do all of them is kind of what makes it like a bigger deal, I guess. So father passed at a young age. I was 7 years old. So mom was a widow, main breadwinner, having to do a lot of work. So just the three of us at first, mom, my brother, and I. And obviously we're Mexican, so we have a giant extended family of aunts and uncles and cousins who were very supportive and all that. But for the most part, you know, it's just the three of us. So public service has always been a theme in our family. It was like a value that mom and dad taught us from a young age. My father was the first Latino mayor of Huntington Park, and a couple years later, after he passed, mom went on to be treasurer, and then years later, council member, and eventually mayor. So at one point or another, both of my parents were the mayor of this city. And that came with a lot of like fundraisers and, you know, campaigning and showing up to the park and 4th of July and all that stuff, right? So we were always engaged with the community from a young age. And then once Pops passed, he died from cancer. So then like mom became really involved with the American Cancer Society, and we were doing Relay for Life and, you know, just community outreach stuff, trying to get, you know, information out and raise funds. In 2013, I got accepted to go to UC San Diego.
Congratulations.
Beautiful La Jolla. And music wasn't really doing anything for me at the moment. It was just like, I was kind of stuck. And yeah, it took off. And I didn't think I was ever going to come back. I was like, late, I'll see y'all suckers later. I'm gonna live in paradise, what? I'm by the beach, getting wasted every day, what? Yeah, so, yeah, I kind of, I went on and off on a little journey of self-discovery. I thought I was gonna just, like, go to academia and become, you know, I thought I was gonna become a professor and just, like, I was like, this is the stories I'm gonna tell my students later, like, I used to be cool and rap in a band and DJs, crazy house parties. You know, I know what y'all are doing. Now that I'm back from San Diego and I started my company, now I'm really kind of focused on community based. So like, I provide entertainment at the East Los Angeles Art Walk. I'm currently working with a like I don't want to say it's non-profit, but it's like an organization that is trying to bring like community classes, gymnastics, arts, workshops, that type of stuff, like as education, arts and stuff. So, and I'm also working with, like, I recently just did the ELAC Hip Hop Summit. My company sponsored it. We did some marketing stuff for them. We brought some equipment. I performed. I hosted, and that was all about hip hop and education and trying to. Just the importance of expression and having like a historical perception of this music that has kind of become super commercialized. So in that vein, I'm just always, public service was a thing that was taught to me, and now that I'm here like trying to envision my goals, like it's really based around like creating platforms for local artists and giving people the opportunity to be engaged and, you know, really trying to focus on arts in the hood for the people, by the people, you know, creative expression, the importance of it. And that's kind of where community fits in. Very influenced by the patriarchy and misogyny and sexism, and I was always like woke as a revolutionary. Like in high school, I was very involved in social justice movements, environmental justice, like, you know, protesting in the streets and anti-Bush and all of that. So I kind of thought that I was like this highly enlightened person. My ego was like super out of control, and yeah, I thought I was the shit. And I went to San Diego, and I realized that, you know, I went to a place where nobody knew who I was, and nobody gave a shit about anything that I had done, because they didn't really know about it or care. I ran for office on campus, public service, you know, like in the vein of political parents. I was a senator, and I needed to actually get votes, and so I was out there campaigning, and like I literally got like 2,000 people to vote for me. So imagine meeting 2,000 people in 2 weeks and all the shit that you could learn when you're like, hey, I'm going to be representing you. Like, what are the things that bother you? What are your issues on campus? What's the kind of stuff you'd like to see here? And you're just getting like all this data, so much information. Like, whoa, people have experiences and they're like different than mine. You know, like, so that stuff was all like compressed. So a lot of growth in a lot of short amount of time. And after I graduated, I actually ended up getting hired to work on campus because of all the work I had done. I had made a lot of connections, and they had seen what I was capable of, so they hired me, and I stayed there for another year as a professional, you know, paying bills and buying myself nice shit, and I was so unhappy, and it was not what I wanted out of life. I didn't want to retire in 30, 40 years and realize that I'd never left San Diego because, like, I was comfortable there.
There's gonna be days when you feel like shit, days when you getting lit, get a few bills and deposit it. Mama said there'll be days like this, days when you getting paid, getting laid. You and the mafia getting made, Mama said hit the books, Mama said fuck the books.
I feel like my life is a never-ending game of Tetris. Just me being here, trying to create new sources of income. Like, I started just kind of piecing together this company where it's like the entertainment side of like, oh, we're doing shows and I'm DJing and we're booking acts and we're rocking out venues. And then consulting, or like we're working with companies, we're helping them market. If they need events to do product placement, I can already do that with this side of the company, and I'm building websites and I'm taking photos, and I have a couple of clients that are like pretty, it all just kind of happened organically. And that's the company, Shneaky Entertainment and Consulting. We do small to large events. We can plan all the logistics. We can book all the entertainment. I own all my own equipment, so I could bring the equipment. I have relationships with other people, so if we need more equipment, if we need sound engineers, if we need LED light boards, if, like, you know, catering, whatever, like, I just in the 14 years I've been doing like networking and shows and stuff, I've put together a pretty legit network of like all the things you would need. I started singing in the church choir when I was 5 years old. 4 years old, something like that. And yeah, I did that all the way until the 8th grade. I tried having, my brother is a guitarist, so naturally, like, my parents bought me a drum set, and I tried to go to drum classes. I didn't want to play drums. I tried to learn guitar, couldn't learn guitar. I was never dedicated or really like, it's funny, like, music was never my thing. As much as that, as ironic as that sounds. I mean, I was always good in the choir, and so I thought I was gonna be a singer. You know, I sang in choir all the way up to 8th grade, and when I went to high school, I was in the choir, and I started playing trumpet to be in the jazz band, and I was thinking like be some Louis Armstrong, Miles Davis type, Chet Baker type cat. You know, I'll play and sing and I'll do my thing. And I was always writing poetry. So I was in a band, and then the band was like getting rocky, and at that time I started DJing, going to house parties, and like, you know, I was around 18, 19 when people kind of transition out of shows, all ages shows, and start getting into like 18 plus clubs and that. So like, I felt like it was just a natural progression for me to go from a band into a DJ role, and so started DJing with Richie Jams, and also formerly of the band. You know, the band had a little split. We took off. We started DJing, and that was like 07. And we basically did that for 5 years, DJing. House parties, clubs, bars, underground raves, warehouses, family parties, birthdays, wherever really. Not really getting paid, but just two young dudes having a blast, you know? It was fun, but at the time I was trying to do community college, and I was, in my head, I wanted to be this like top 10 fucking famous DJ, but I didn't produce my own tracks, and I did not make any original music, and that was a pipe dream, you know? My parents just, they had high expectations for me, and they kind of instilled me to have high expectations for myself, to the point that like, even when I've accomplished everything that they wanted for me, it's still not enough for me. It's not always gonna be fucking rainbows and unicorns, but at the end of the day, when you can wake up in the morning and you know that you are doing what you want to do for yourself because you love and believe it, and you've put together a support system of people who believe in you and want you to succeed, there's no greater feeling than that.